Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Tonya Gossage with Gossage Performance Consulting and Nick Kobzar with Level Up Consulting. Thank you for joining us. Today we are going to discuss the first 10 of the 20 rules of closing a deal. Nick, thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be with you once again.
Good, thank you. So, Nick, we have an event coming up. How exciting.
Oh, we sure do. We've got actually have two business boot camps, the 10X Business Boot Camp coming up October 23rd, October 21st, 25th in,
25th.
in Fayetteville on the 23rd and Little Rock on the 25th.
That is exactly right. So in Fayetteville, it's going to be at the Hilton Garden Inn, 1325 North Pallet Drive. And in Little Rock on October 25th, it's going to be at the Chenal Event Venue, formerly Noah's Event Venue, which is 21 Rawlings Circle. We are so excited about this event. In fact, if you can't tell, as we're going live and leading up to the event, both Nick and I, and then myself and my team, leading up to the event and doing a little bit of training, Nick and I are going to be talking about money and finances, the business cycle, the sales process, follow-up and phones, and scaling your business. And today, Nick, we're going to be talking about 10 of the rules of closing a deal. You want to start for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure will. And this is basically Grant Cardone's 20 rules of closing a deal. So rule number one, you always want to remain seated. You're hardly ever going to close a deal while you're standing up. Okay, so sell on your feet, negotiate on your seat. So you always want to remain seated. Okay, even if your prospect stands, you want to remain seated. Okay, if you stand up, it suggests something has changed. Okay, so you want to remain seated whenever you're closing in a deal. You don't close your deals standing up. If they stand up, don't overreact. Okay, stay calm. Staying calm is going to enforce your confidence and your ability to come to an agreement. It's going to reinforce that. So doing the opposite, that suggests that something has changed. Okay, second thing you want to do, you always want to present your proposal in writing. If you're in person, you want to have like an invoice or a contract. Nowadays, a lot of the stuff's online, so you always want to have something at your disposal, whether it's a digital proposal, a DocuSign, or whatever format you're using. You always want to present it. People believe what they see, not what they hear. Okay, we don't have a shortage of proposals. Okay, just a shortage of people sending them, going after them, sending them to your clients. If I ask someone for a proposal and they can't send it to me, that's kind of like an indication something's not right. So make sure you always present it in writing. Okay, always have one available to you. Always have a pen, or always make it easy for your prospect or your client to transact. Make it easy once you send it to them that they can complete it and send it to you. Without a contract, nothing happens. Okay, third tip, you always want to clearly communicate your proposal. Okay, clearly communicate your offer. Don't mumble. Okay, make sure you can, make sure you're not chewing anything. Make sure you're not covering your mouth, especially if it's on a Zoom call or face-to-face that people can see you. Okay, sounds super simple, but you won't believe the amount of times I've been in a meeting or a proposal and the person speaking to me is like, they're chewing gum, or they're distracted, they're looking down at something. So make sure you always want to clearly communicate with your client, right? Speak clearly and confidently, right? Make sure your communication reaches the buyer. Okay, make sure what you're saying connects with the buyer. And you want to practice, deliver, and work on getting the communication and all of its parts. So whatever your proposal is, you want to practice all the parts so you can communicate it clearly, confidently, with conviction. Okay. So the next one is you always want to maintain eye contact. You want to avoid I call the shifty eye syndrome, right? You don't want to stare at people like you're creeping them out, but you want to be able to make good, solid eye contact. A lot of people nowadays don't make eye contact with you, whether you're at the grocery store or you're in line or just passing someone down the street. But especially when you're in a sales situation, you want to make sure you can maintain eye contact. Avoid the wandering eyes. Avoid looking over your shoulders. You want to give them your undivided attention. That also means not shifting down and looking at your phone like we all do nowadays too. You might want to turn it off during a proposal or during a negotiation. So this particular step, this is a discipline that's instilled through practice, okay? And you get it through repetition. Ideally, if you could record yourself presenting, you're gonna develop the discipline, and you can catch yourself when you look off, so you can practice, drill, and rehearse. Okay. Most of the population on the planet today, guys, does not make eye contact. Okay. So wandering eyes, they don't make people feel comfortable. Okay. You want to be able to maintain good, solid eye contact with people. So the next one that we're going to get into.
Hold on 1 second here, Nick.
No,
there we go. There we go.
Okay, so we touched on this before. So in person, you always want to have a pen available. You want to have a backup pen. I remember one time I was selling a car, and I went to close the deal, and the pen ran out of ink. And the client was like, "Oh, it's a sign. It's not meant to be." Luckily, just by happenstance, I had an extra pen in the inside of my jacket pocket. I'm like, "Here, I got another one." Okay, so you always want to have a pen available. You want to make it easy for them to transact. If you're sending someone, and this is just from personal experience, if you're sending somebody a digital proposal, a digital contract, make sure they're able to use the technology. You might want to stay on the phone with them so they can open the email and you can walk them through how to sign the contract. You might want to do a Zoom call and actually coach them and show them how to finish the deal. Okay, a lot of people don't know how to use. There's so many different softwares and things out there. You might have to walk your client through so they can use it. Sometimes people don't finish it because they don't even know how to open it, let alone complete the form. So if it's in person, always have a pen, always have a backup. If it's digital, make sure that they've opened it, make sure they know how to use it, make sure they can send it back to you. Hey, do you have any questions or concerns? Okay, and if they do, don't shy away from them, confront them, okay? Make sure you can always communicate clearly, okay? So make sure you have a backup pen, and you want to invest in nice things too. Okay, like nice things meaning like a good quality pen when you're with somebody. It's a reflection of how you carry yourself, especially if you're going into large deals. Okay, so with that, we're going to go in the next 5 tips. Tonya, do you want to go over tips 6 through 10?
I do. And Nick, as you say, about the ink pen running out of ink, it's funny how some people do latch on to things like that, and they do think it's their sign not to do a deal.
Yeah, they might use that as an excuse, like, "Hey, well, if it's not meant to be, if it was, the pen would have never ran out of ink." So
exactly.
a little thing like that, you might want a backup so you have one, so people aren't going to use that as an excuse. Okay, you want to be over prepared.
Absolutely. So rule number 6 is use humor to relieve pressure. Everybody likes a good story, especially the ones that will relieve the pressure from maybe a large deal or something along that line. But be careful that your humor is not offensive or off color. Oftentimes, if I'm going to use humor in a situation, I try to use that humor about myself. I use a situation the other day in a training session where I said my husband did something to me, or so I try to use that humor against myself instead of somebody else, so that if it is offensive, the joke is on me. So using humor oftentimes does relieve the stress. People are more likely to make a decision when they're less serious than when things are very serious. So humor combined with the right techniques on how to close will make you unstoppable.
Absolutely. Good points.
Always ask more than one time. You always want to, boy, this print is very small today, Nick. I'm used to using this other screen. I apologize.
No, it's okay. You always want to ask more than one time, right?
Yes, absolutely. You always want to ask the individual that you're having conversations with more than one time about the close. One time they may not close immediately. So you want to, as you're having that conversation, ask them more than one time about it. The only way to wear through resistance is asking, more than one time. You want to get strong in having these conversations is to ask multiple times. So definitely, press through and ask the customer on multiple occasions through that conversation. And it may not even be through that first conversation. You may have to come back and ask the customer again. Number 8,
Yeah.
always have an arsenal of closes available so that you're not repeating yourself. Most salespeople quit because of the lack of variations to close. They don't have multiple things in their toolkit of ways to close the deal with the customer. So you've got to have multiple ways. I know a lot of people may have up to 4 and then they stop. One thing that I use is this book right here. Is the Closer's Survival Guide. This thing right here has 120 closes in it. One of my favorites, Nick, I don't know if you ever use this, is have you seen enough to make a decision? Or have you heard enough to make a decision? Throughout the process that I'm having with the customer, that's my number 1 close. That's been the most effective close for me. So have an arsenal, a toolkit of multiple closes as you are having conversations with the customer. Become a master at repetition. The more and more that you are going through the process of the sales process, the better that you're going to get in that process. Listen to the customer, what they're saying, and then have these master closes with you so that you know how to come back to close your deals. Number 9, always stay with the buyer and reduce the number of times that you leave the buyer alone. This even went back to me in my prior corporate job in banking. You never want to leave your customer multiple times because it causes them to wonder, what in the world are they doing? Where are they going? It causes the customer to have doubt and uncertainty in what's going on, causes confusion. The back and forth, it causes them to be concerned about the negotiation process, and it lowers the perceived value, reduces customer experience, and it extends the closing time that you really should be having with the customer. It does not mean that there's not an appropriate time to leave the buyer and use an authority for close, as this can be very powerful as long as it's not overused. But you do need to be thinking about the process that you have in place today and the number of times that you are leaving the buyer. You need to reduce that and compress how many times that you are leaving that customer by themselves. Again, it also gives them the opportunity to be thinking about, am I making the right decision? Excuse me. Number 10, always treat the prospect like a buyer. You always want to treat people like they are a buyer, number 1. One of the things that Grant always says is treat people like they have $1 million. Treat them like they have $1 billion. Treat them like they can buy your product multiple times. Lori says, great point. Leaving the customer can cause them not to trust you. That is exactly right. Every person who reads the Closer Survival Guide, which is this book that I just held up a few minutes ago, can think of multiple times when they made this error and cost them business. If you misjudge somebody, it can cost you business. Oftentimes, the people you think won't do business with you are the very people who will do business with you.
Absolutely.
The people that you think will do business with you, Nick, are the people who will not do business with you. It's crazy.
Happens all the time.
It does. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah. But
always treat the prospect like a buyer. I also have this note, the sticky note here. You probably can't see it on there, but it says everyone can be sold. Everyone can be sold if you do it the right way. Everyone can be a buyer if you can meet their need in the right way. It depends on what you have. If you can meet their need, you can sell them. If they say that they don't have the money, is that the real reason? if they say that they're too busy, what are they too busy doing? Figure out the right need. Every buyer is a buyer. Treat them as a buyer and they will turn into a buyer. So with that, Nick, these first
Great points.
3 rules
Yeah.
are excellent rules to close a deal. Everybody should
Absolutely.
have them in their toolbox. They should memorize them.
Mhm.
The next 10 rules are rules that we're going to cover tomorrow at this same time.
Mhm.
And we would love for everybody to come and join us in the business boot camp so that they can not only learn more about the closes, but how to say it, when to say it, how to meet the objectives or the complaints that everyone has. But anything else that you want to comment on before we close out the training today?
That's it for today, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. We're going to do rules 10 through 20. Drop ebook in the comments below. We're going to send one of these books out to you directly. And don't forget to join us October 23rd in Fayetteville, October 25th in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Nick, one thing I just thought of, we're going to be doing a drawing for a couple of free tickets, right?
That's right.
We are going to do a drawing for a couple of free tickets. So be watching my Facebook profile for that post. If you are interested in coming to the event and want your name in the drawing, be watching my Facebook profile, Tonya Gossage, to be looking for that opportunity. And we will see you there. Take care until tomorrow. Bye.